This is the V3, a terrifying German weapon designed to shell the British capital from across the English Channel. Built into the chalk hills near Mimoyecques in Pas-de-Calais, France, it was meant to bombard London relentlessly. The shell fired by the V3 reached over 4 times the speed of sound before leaving the nozzle. The goal was staggering: 600 rounds every hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To reach this rate, the Germans devised a radical concept: a multi-chambered cannon. The main barrel of the V3 was 460 feet or 140 meters long. It was smoothbore, lacking rifling, which made it easier to construct and allowed the shell to reach higher speeds. The barrel was built in sections, joined by 16-bolt flanges. The final 66 feet were solidly connected without any junctions. On each side of the junction sat auxiliary chambers. These chambers held solid fuel blocks that ignited sequentially, boosting the shell's speed as it traveled up the barrel. They were simple in design: shortened barrel segments capped with a welded end and a screw breech to replace fuel. The breech itself came from the standard SFH 18-15 cm howitzer, a common artillery piece of the German Army, featuring a locking lever and a pull-cord trigger. The gun was fixed at a 50-degree angle pointed directly at Westminster Bridge in London. To support its incredible weight, every block of 5 barrel segments was mounted on steel legs embedded in solid rock deep within tunnels carved into the hillside. The shells resembled modern armor-piercing, fin-stabilized, discarding sabot APFSDS tank rounds. They came in various sizes, some 4.3 feet long and 172 pounds, others up to 10.7 feet and 308 pounds. Their fins kept the elongated rounds stable in flight since spin stabilization was ineffective at such dimensions. The firing mechanism was cleverly designed. A wooden plunger in the nose triggered a spring-loaded striker upon impact, igniting a fuse. The fuse then set off the main explosive charge, up to 55 pounds of high explosive in the largest shells. Because of the fins, the shells didn't sit snugly in the 5.9-inch barrel. To prevent gas leakage during firing, a cast iron cage surrounded the shell, guiding it along 8 sleds that detached upon exiting the muzzle. A piston sat at the rear, pushing the shell forward. This piston had an extended sleeve that ensured the barrel was sealed during ignition. A small hole in the piston funneled gas into a chamber inside the round, which helped eject the piston after firing. To fire the V3, operators inserted the shell and sabot into the breech, followed by the powder charge and a 15-centimeter howitzer casing. The breech was closed, the tunnel cleared, and the safety turned to the firing position. Pulling the firing cord triggered the primer, igniting the propellant. Pressure built behind the piston, sealing it to the barrel and sending the shell forward. As the shell passed auxiliary chambers, gases ignited the next charge, repeating this process 32 times before the shell exited the muzzle at over 4 times the speed of sound. Once airborne, the forward sabot fell away, and the gases from the piston chamber forced the piston off the round, freeing it for flight. The firing system reset mechanically, ready for the next shot. But building the gun was only part of the story. To operate it safely, the Germans constructed the massive underground fortress at Mimoyecques. This fortress stretched 350 feet underground and consisted of a labyrinth of tunnels. The most striking feature was 5 angled tunnels, or drifts, designed to hold 5 V3 guns stacked vertically. Each drift was protected by an 18-foot thick concrete slab and 8-inch steel plates with openings for the shells. A second identical bunker was planned but never completed. A railway line brought supplies underground through a ravine, with a second set of rails used to transport rock and ammunition. 13 galleries stretched from the central tunnel, used for personnel movement, maintenance, and reloading. The crew reloaded the auxiliary chambers manually between firings. This required opening 320 auxiliary breeches across 5 guns in each drift, unscrewing hot end caps, cleaning, inserting fuel cylinders, and resealing them. Shells and charges were loaded into the main breech at the lowest level. To maintain the intended fire rate, this process had to repeat every 5 minutes, an unrealistic goal. More realistically, a 30-minute cycle would allow 1,200 shells per day from the entire bunker. Even then, the operation would consume 50 shells and 3,200 fuel charges every hour, requiring constant deliveries via rail and a rotating workforce of over 1,000 men. Despite its scale, the V3 was never fully realized. Construction began in late 1943 but was soon targeted by Allied bombing. In November of that year, the site was heavily damaged and the project was downscaled. A second bunker was scrapped and only 3 of the 5 drifts were built, reducing the gun count from 50 to 15. In July 1944, RAF bombers dropped 6 12,000-pound tallboy earthquake bombs on the site, collapsing the underground complex. A shortened version of the V3 was used just once. In December 1944, it was installed in Lampaden, Germany, and fired at Luxembourg. It launched 207-pound shells with 20 pounds of explosives. The shells proved ineffective, doing little damage and offering unnecessary armor penetration against soft targets. The gun ceased firing on January 11, 1945. The Allies captured the Mimoyecques site in September 1944, finding it abandoned. At the time, they didn't know its true purpose. It was assumed to be part of the V1 or V2 rocket programs. Its role as the London gun wasn't revealed until 1945. Upon learning its potential, Winston Churchill ordered the entire site destroyed to prevent future use. British engineers filled the fortress with 10 tons of bombs, then returned later with 25 tons more to collapse the entrances and seal the complex. Multi-chambered guns were never used in warfare again, but one legacy of the V3 remains: the fin-stabilized discarding sabot round. Though it's unclear how much V3 research made its way into Allied hands, the concept survives in modern tank warfare as APFSDS rounds, still used by militaries around the world. Winston Churchill once called the V3 the most devastating attack of all. Had it worked as intended, it might have changed the course of the war. Today, the Mimoyecques site is a museum, open to visitors during the summer months. One of the tunnels was reopened in 1969 by a local farmer, Marie-Madeleine Vasseur, who with friends and family built the first museum. It's now run by a nonprofit. Monuments at the site honor the forced laborers who died building it and the Allied crews who died destroying it.